Right.
Start,
So,
Sonali.
continuing our second half, this time, of course, discussing the Congress manifesto, the sports changes that they are bringing about.
Fourth section. Yeah.
Not
Right.
even sports section. I don't even know if I have a word for something as minuscule, but yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it is. But yeah, little longer than the BJP one. But
Because they've
yeah,
taken
not.
quite a lot of time in trying to bash the BJP with the first three aspects, with the first three lines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think somewhere their points are also right. There were a lot of problems during this particular government, and especially with the women sportsmen and stuff, with the wrestler protest and things that happened there. Even now, it seems like there's really not a lot of support being given, you know. So they have touched the right points, I would say. But again, let's go deeper into the 7 points that they have made. And there's a trend. The trend is they all start well, but towards the end they sort of just put some fillers. They just like, chalo ek aur point bhar do, kuch bhi dal do, make it
Because then
sound
Senthil will
convincing.
say कि कम से कम 1.5 पेज का तो होना चाहिए ना. यहाँ कम से they're trying to fill in at least a 1 page for you.
हाँ, यहाँ पे कम से कम better work done. Yeah, better work done. But look, it's not about filling content also. It's about clarity. At the end of the day, it all comes down to clarity. So anyway, let's dive right into it, because I want to also tell, in the end, I also want to tell like what I would have liked to expect from these manifestos and the focus areas. So let's jump right into it. Talking about Congress, first point. Um, we will take suitable measures to ensure that the constitution of each sports body is in accordance with the certain norms and principles, that elections are held to the constitution of the body and recommendations as per the Justice Lodha Committee. A very good, strong point. Okay, what is the Justice Lodha Committee? We're not going to go deep into it, but just to give quick pointers on that. One was separation of power. Okay. So the execution and the administration should be two different things altogether. And the execution is all about handling day-to-day activities, whereas the administration is more to look at the overall processes and guidelines and stuff. So I think the Justice Lodha Committee was actually a very good report, a very strong, very good report. And I think any organization following the Justice Lodha Committee I'm talking about sports organizations, would be in a better position in terms of administration and execution. All right. For example, now conflict of interest, right? So certain people holding other positions, maybe in clubs, maybe in certain sports leagues and stuff, are not allowed to be a part of the administrative or the execution committee, which is a very good point. Cooling off periods, I really like that point, because as someone who is already the president, should not be allowed to stand for elections again until they are given a one term cooling off period. All right. Otherwise, it creates a concentration of power ki bar, and that we have seen that in AIFF with Praful Patel. We have seen that across the board. Right now, there is a very good chance that even what's that guy's name? Amit Shah's son. I don't even know his name. He could, yeah, go on. What's his name? I
No,
forgot.
no, please go on. Please go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So he could go on to be the BCCI president. Elections around the corner. So these are certain things that if managed well, if followed, then I think it would be great. One of the other, pointers in the Justice Lodha Committee is one state, one vote. I think here there could be some modifications. You could have one state, one vote, but I think you can extend it as well. You can actually open up voting to any participant or registered player or uh, coach or even companies. In fact, open up the voting even for private companies who are part of that industry. You know, new startups that are coming up, let them also have a say. Why not let them have a say in terms of who they want to see as a president? What kind of policies are you going to implement? Campaign for it. You know, it shouldn't just be like, okay, these are the three people and we're going to pick one of them. No, you tell me what you're going to do for us. That has to be a part of your selling point. You know, what is it that you are going to do in order to promote the sport, grow the sport, manage the sport, manage the athletes, manage the coaches, trainings, etc., etc. This all has to play a big part in it. Um, so a lot of interesting pointers. I think taking on uh, the Congress's first point, I would say if they manage to implement the Justice Lodha Committee report and guidelines, I think it would be a very positive thing for sports in general. And I think it's not just the Congress, I think the BJP should also look at it. And they should also look at implementing certain guidelines from this because these are very good for the growth of sports in India. So overall, point number one, I would give Congress 8 on 10. They still need to come into power in order to sort of implement anything. And even after they come into the power, we need to see if they're going to implement or not. So 8 on 10 for just the thought process. Yeah. Congress will enact a separate legislation for the registration of sports federations, bodies, associations, which will ensure full compliance with the Olympic Committee, allowing for autonomy and accountability. Okay, great. Um, they also talk about, having measures against discrimination, bias, sexual harassment, abuse. Okay. To an extent, they've covered certain topics very clearly. The BJP manifesto did not cover these topics because they very well know that they fucked up on them. So the moment they mention it, somebody's going to raise a question like me. Okay. And the Congress very clearly are mentioning these topics because they understand that this is the area where BJP went wrong, and this is the area where they can actually catch something. How are they going to do it execution wise? Again, I would go back to the Justice Ora Committee report and their guidelines. I think it is a very well structured guideline. It's been there for a while. Even the BCCI actually adopted a few pointers from it, not all of them. But yeah, I think if they are managing to create separate legislations and monitoring bodies and things like that, I think it would definitely be helpful. I do believe that sports organizations, although they have to comply with Olympic Committee, they should be autonomous. They should definitely have accountability to someone. Okay, but they should definitely not be under the government. The moment they come under the government or the central sports ministry and stuff, there's a lot of corruption that goes into play, and I would not like that to happen. But yeah, whoever forms the government, they should be autonomous. So third point. Oh, before we go to third point, second point, I'll give a rating 6. Still not sure about things, but yeah, okay. Let's say it's in connection with the first point, so let's give it a 6. Um, Congress will provide sports scholarships of 10,000 per month to talented and budding sports persons below the age of 21. Wow. Slow clap for this one. All right. What is the minimum age group? A 1-year-old? 6 months? Like, how do I
Waiting.
quantify this?
I was waiting.
Yeah. Yeah. How do I say like, okay, 21 is great. Where do we start? Okay. And the best part, okay, the best part. So I don't want to dwell too much on the youth segment of the Congress manifesto, but the best part is there is some yojana that they have created where they give internships to anyone who has done graduation. All right. Anyone who has done graduation, they can apply for these internships in association with companies and stuff, and companies have to provide these internships, and the government will support these companies and stuff, whatever, said and done. Okay. That graduation internship amount is 1 lakh per year. Okay. But for sports, they're willing to give 1.2 lakhs per year. I was like, wow, dude, you really care about sports that much? That your graduates are getting 20,000 less? Okay. So I'm not sure about this. Okay. I'm not even sure about if it's going to happen, if it is not going to happen, if it will have any kind of implementation and stuff like that. I'm not even sure about this because it's too much of Hawa. I would give it a 0 right now. Okay, it's a good thought. Maybe a 2, not a 0. It's a good thought. Definitely, sports persons need support because a lot of them come from underprivileged backgrounds. All right, 10,000 a month, at least the bare minimum they could have done is to suggest the number of individuals who could qualify for this per state.
Many, how
You know,
many are they going to support? That 10,000 is one number. So is it spread across
yeah,
as many? Is it spread across a couple? Is it
yeah,
10 people and 10,000? I mean,
yeah.
lots of clarity on that.
Exactly. And yeah, so that's my point. Like, okay, give a number. Say that every state we will support 1,000 budding athletes. Okay, fair enough. And 1,000 budding athletes from between the age of, how much would that have taken? That would have taken probably another 20 words, which would still have saved them space within the same page. All right. All they had to do was say 2,000 or 1,000 athletes per state under the age of 21 and starting between the ages of 15 to 21. Chalo, okay, fair enough. I get it. By then, the parents have invested something. By the age of 15, if the kid has already delivered at certain levels, then they are eligible for something from the government. Great stuff. Fantastic. A lot of lack of clarity, and I would give it a 2. Okay. Just because 2 is also just for the direction of thought, a great direction, no execution pipeline or clarity. Yeah. Congress will ensure there is at least one community sports center in every block and municipal town, and at least one multi sports coaching center in every district. Now, this I'll give it a 10 on 10. All right. Very clear. I don't know if they understand the budgetary requirements for it yet. Okay. And will they be able to achieve it? They're talking about every block. Okay. Now, I believe that each district is divided into blocks. Okay. So that is like a large number. What they could have mentioned here is we will partner with private institutions. We'll make it easy for these sports facilities to come up, right? How do you make it easy? So, sports is a land intensive and a capital intensive business. All right. You need land. You want to build facilities, you need large land. Not large land, I mean, I'm not talking about acres and acres, but compared to erecting a 3, 4 story builder flat, you still need at least an acre of land. You know, an acre of land is not easy to find in places. All
Well,
right.
I was
So
gonna ask that question. Like, where is the space? You can talk about creating it, but I don't think every block also has a park here.
yeah, I mean, Mumbai
Everything
is
is
very
getting,
difficult.
I mean, of course, Mumbai, but why not Mumbai? Mumbai is a part of every manifesto too, right? They don't seclude and exclude Mumbai out of the manifesto, saying that, oh, Mumbai is choco block. We don't
I
have
know.
space. It doesn't work that way. But the thing being that, yeah, slowly and steadily we are losing open grounds and open fields and the green spaces that were any which ways available. And it's not only about Mumbai; it's the kind of construction that's happening across the country. Uh, we are actually losing it. So when you're talking about building something, yes, of course, the idea of then collaborating with already pre-built structures or ensuring that that much space is not gone, then leaving that empty space, again collaborating, asking for it to be developed. I mean, so many possibilities. Of course, not possible to put it all down on paper because again, there's a lot of uh, there's a lot of pros and cons. There is a lot of talks. There's a lot of homework that's going to be required to even identify spots for that matter. Because again, going by our own geography.
No, a great way to identify these locations is creating those partnerships between private facility builders and the government schools, because government schools generally tend to have some fair amount of land. Okay. And
Absolutely.
if you go to the tier two cities, have a huge amount of land. So I wouldn't say like, yeah, there are some major cities where land is being depleted because of the construction. But when it comes to tier two cities, there is ample land. There is ample amount of land under the government control through these government schools, through these uh, CBSE schools. I think another sentence right here, just to give more direction, would have been like, we will facilitate partnerships between private players in the sports facility builders and stuff, and any kind of land banks that are under the government control, be it through government schools or be it through community schools or any kind of associations that they can have with the state governments. I think that would be a great initiative to start off with, because that's just again two more sentences, right? Just to give more direction, because it sounds great. It's a 10 on 10 on concept, but it's it's again lacking the clarity or the vision. And I feel like sometimes, having read the BJP one, now reading this one as well, and sort of breaking it down, I do feel that they don't give any thought to this. They just, somewhere someone comes up, or they went on Chat GPT, they're like, give me 7 points. Right? And ChatGPT threw up 7 points. They're like, अरे उसमें ये जस्टिस लोढ़ा वाला डाल दो, इसमें ये वाला डाल दो, 10,000 डाल दो यहाँ पे, and let's get. They don't like, they should have read their own manifesto. They should have been like, okay, if we're giving an engineering youth 1 lakh a year, we're giving a sports scholarship 10,000 a month, that's 1.2 lakhs a year. There is a discrepancy, right? Are we valuing sports more? Great. If you want to value sports more, great, fantastic. Everybody can get into sports, but mm-mm, lack of vision, lack of clarity, and that's where the problem comes in. But overall, fourth point, I would be like 10 on 10 on the vision. I don't want to take anything away from it. I think there is still room for them to maneuver in this. I feel like there are a lot of players, if they come up with a good, strong policy for this, there are a lot of local players who can participate and sort of help take this vision forward. Number five, we will establish a national sports science institute to promote research and development in sports sciences and training. Okay, there are enough sports science institutes. Support them. You don't have to establish another new one under the name of maybe Rajiv Gandhi or Indira Gandhi or any of these things. You don't need it. There are enough. There are enough sports management programs. There are enough sports science institutes. There are enough and more, not a lot, but enough and more that you can just allocate some amount of funds and promote them. I think here again, I would go for a zero or something like that on this point, because again, it's more vanity. It's like, let's put something exciting for people. But somebody who comes from the sports industry, somebody who understands the challenges of the sports industry, they will see through it in an instant. They'll be like, okay, this is not happening. This is a waste of time. We're going to again do a big event like BJP is great at events. Probably these guys will learn from them. They'll create a great event. They'll inaugurate a great institute, but there's nothing going to happen there. So rather than that, instead of doing all of this, just set aside, forget about big money. You have a lot of big money. You're spending a lot of money on the Pehli Naukri Yojana, Mahila Yojana, all these things. You're spending a lot of money. Set aside 100 crores, not more. 100 crores for this should have been we will set aside 100 crore investment fund towards research in sports, sciences, and training. That's it. This sentence should have been as crystal clear as that. Okay, 100 crores. Bring the research. We will invest up to 2 crores per research. Fantastic. More than enough. A lot of startups who are doing everything on their own accord with raising capital, getting investors, doing all of this work, a lot of them in connection with these sports institutes will be able to get this 2 crore grant for their project. They will be able to flourish faster and better and create better projects. So definitely a simple statement like that would have made more sense. So here on point number 5 for Congress, I would give it a 0 on 10. Number 6, in order to encourage talented youth to pursue sports as a profession without fear of their future, Congress will introduce a Sporting Heroes Job Guarantee program to ensure every sportsperson who has represented India at the international level or the national level a good quality job after the end of their sportsperson's career. Okay. All right. Most sportsmen these days are government employees. All right. We're not talking about, in fact, even Dhoni is a government employee for that matter. He doesn't do the work, but he's still a government employee. And most sportsmen are in either the police, the railways, either the oil corporations, IOC. I know a lot of sportsmen back in the day who have been a part of IOC and stuff. They don't do any work in the company. Nothing. They don't do anything. But they are government employees because they represent the company, they represent the government organization. Fantastic. Because the government organizations also have their own sports teams. The Air Force, I know someone who has been a very big player for the Air Force football team and stuff. They used to play in the I League. So great. I mean, see, this is already there. All right. My problem with this is that you're guaranteeing this after their career is over. That is around the age of 35, 36, or 30. Between 30 to, let's say, 35 is when most sportsmen end their career. And the most sportsmen who have not played at the highest level, they end their career between that range. And some of them end it much earlier as well because they can't make it. So they don't know anything else apart from just giving it up and sort of getting into something different. Okay. And most of the common jobs that these people get into are real estate agents. They get into company management, operations, smaller factory management, these kind of things. This is the security. These are the jobs that they get into on the private side. And most of them who have a government job, they continue with the government job mostly, and they get that salary of 35K, 40K, 50K. It's not the right kind of message you want to send to anybody who is taking up sports at an age of 6, 7, and you're saying that by the time you're 30, we'll get you a job in a government organization, will give you the basic salary, sustenance, and stuff like that. It's just not the right message because the amount of investment that goes into even reaching to that level, and that you have clearly mentioned international or national means state level. Yeah.
Yep.
So international or state. Okay. The amount of money that you invest in order for your training, for your nutrition, for your practice, for your coaches, everything, this job is not going to satisfy. Here again, my suggestion, a very simple, clear statement. Anybody who has represented a state more than 5 times, anybody who has represented India at least once will get a 2 lakh education scholarship for doing any sports management program that they want of their choice in India. Fantastic. You're supporting them with their education. They go do a degree, they learn basic skills like today's modern day skills like Excel, project management, facility management, sponsorships, things like that, communication. They learn those skills. They come out, they are better professionals. They can either become entrepreneurs, they can start their own agency, or they can work for larger companies which are looking for talented individuals. And who better than someone coming right from the sports itself? Because most of the sports management programs these days are catering to a lot of people who have not even played sports, to be honest. You know, maybe they have some interest, maybe they watch sports, maybe they do all of that, but they're not even played at a level to sort of drive sports forward or come up with ideas to which are in line with the challenges that they face and how to solve them, as well as the modern solutions and the requirements of the companies and the private agencies that are looking for profits and they're looking for revenue. How do they merge that? That is only possible if you give these people an opportunity to get educated and get upskilled in those areas.
Yeah.
You know, and point number 6, great vision, great idea. I'd give it a 2, not more than that. Definitely 2. The only reason why I'm giving it a 2 is because somewhere it will help certain people. Not everyone is inclined towards education, but you should
Well,
probably
it's
promote.
probably a lot more, right? Because when you're talking about the fact that they're getting it at the fag end of their career, literally, and the disparity between how much they've already spent versus how much they're going to now make for the rest of their lives, wherein they've already reached the place where they would probably have parents to look after, and you're talking about youth, so they will have families that they are beginning and getting into to start for their own, then have aging parents or other support that they need to give out for probably the ones who supported them on their journey. So there is a lot
Yeah,
of then disconnect for them in what they spent versus what they can now earn, because they probably never be able to earn it all back in the entirety of their life. And which is
yeah,
where then I think when you said this thing, it's so correct that it's not the right message going forward, because then there are these other aspects of the fancier aspects of sports that people want to get connected to in terms of endorsements and commercials and the TVs and the ads, and they want to get into that just because that's where the money is coming from, and then the actual sport loses its value and it loses its charm, and then it's a domino effect. One thing affects the other, and then the whole system keeps collapsing in some way or the other. So yeah, I guess again, perhaps the direction is right in terms of wanting to do something, but yes, when it comes to on ground execution of all of these things, it's a different ball game altogether. And of course, we have a last few minutes to discuss the last seventh point before you give them your
no,
input.
yeah, 7 point, yes. No, but before we go there, I think it also lead to corruption because when somebody is getting just about 35, 40K, 50K a month after spending so much of money on building their sports career for 15, 20 years, and they get a government job, I think that is going to lead to corruption as well because they'll look for opportunities in that government job in order to make as much under table money as possible. And that is where you're just incentivizing them to sort of be more corrupt, I feel. And I think this is a very bad the 6 point, I really don't agree with it at all. And let's go to 7th. We'll allocate sufficient funds to promote sports among girls and women sportsmen with disabilities and disadvantaged groups such as STs. Okay, great. Nice initiative. You could have just quantified the funds. Okay, you could have said that I'll allocate uh, 5
An
crores a
X
year.
amount.
just one amount. Just hardly you would have saved. You wouldn't have used more than the same amount of words that you've used. All right. Just because then it gives clarity. It gives and everything comes down to clarity. Are you going to be able to deliver these things? It all comes down to what clarity of vision you're giving. I think promoting sports among girls and women is very good. Disability is very good. Disadvantaged groups also very good. But how much are you going to allocate? We don't know. Tomorrow you will
I'm
allocate
sure
10
all
lakhs
of
and
that would come in the next budget sentence. So that's going to be
I don't think
another ball game
things are
altogether.
covered.
But yeah, for the manifesto, I think I vis-a-vis what we've read in terms of the BJP versus what vis-a-vis what's there on the Congress, only in terms of sports and just addressing a few things, I would say that they're just so chalk and cheese apart in a way. That there is, in fact, nothing common between the two where we can say, okay, this is really what everybody should be doing for sports, or like both of us are looking at taking this forward for sports because this is required for sports. So apart from the fact
Yeah,
that what is required for sports is definitely better infrastructures and better um, you know,
governance, better
better
governance.
governance, better policies, betterment of the players, and probably reaching down to the level where they really are struggling to, make the choice between whether we take up sports or we take up that so-called education to run our families. Why are we always coming down to that? And like you said, that if we are getting a 1 and then if a sports player is getting a 1.2, why not? Then maybe there'll be more people trying to look at taking up sports as one of the things that they really want to do in terms of a career. But yeah, it's a huge topic. It's definitely a huge topic, and breaking it down probably in just those 30 minutes that we are trying to hold on in terms of conversations is always going to be difficult, considering the again different infrastructural issues that we have, right from villages to then to rural to the 2 tiers to the 3 tiers, and the metropolitan. Each of them is a different city in itself and a different country in itself. I think everybody has like such individualistic problems or issues that it is not easy for any governing body as a central government body to be able to address or please everybody at one go, right? there is going to be
Yeah,
there is going to be discord when you take up issues. But yes, I would say that the Congress has addressed far more real time issues than the BJP has put out in the manifesto. I'm very sure that they would have had all of this at the background happening, but because they are the ones who are in power right now, they should have been the ones addressing all of this far more clearly because they actually have on ground reporting of all of it.
yeah. I think in order to conclude, I would say that Congress has a better sports section than the BJP, definitely. They have addressed the right topics for sure. Again, lack of clarity is there on both ends, okay? Because when BJP is talking about promoting startups, Congress does not mention that. But Congress mentions about localized small scale infrastructure, but BJP is focused on the Olympic city. So there is a mismatch, but at the same time, some of them are positive on their end, some of them are positive on this end. I feel like both have positives, both have negatives. What is common is that the first two, 3 points are great in both, and then the rest of the points are just fillers in both. All right, just to add some content and put a picture and sort of cover that page. All right, so that is something I don't agree with. I think there has to be manifestos. If you're releasing a manifesto, you better give more clarity. What definitely I didn't like about the BJP manifesto is that they, as you rightly said, they're in power, and I think the sports ministry should have done better. Having said all of this, sports is still a state subject. All right. So anything and everything that they mention over here is only a way of sort of giving a guideline from the central point of view. But
Correct.
at the end of the day, sports is still a subject, and state has to adhere to a lot of what the central government wants to do. That is why whenever I made a suggestion, I always made it from, let's say, monetary point of view or clarity point of view, just giving certain pointers which would have made it easier for states to also participate. Or they could have said that, for example, over here, they could have easily said that we will allow the state to decide how much they want to support a budding athlete between the age of 15 to 21, and we will match that.
Yeah,
If
I'm,
the
I'm
state is
very,
giving
very
5,000,
sure that it's going to be a hindsight homework that we will do once they have allocations to be done, and
third hour,
sitting over, yeah, sitting over the finances. I'm very sure that that's going to come out next. Most manifestos would not be this in depth,
yeah.
but yes, because we are clearly
But
talking only sports perspective, definitely we look
now,
at more I don't know, just maybe a little more in terms of assurance, because then you kind of know what the ground reality is versus what is really um uh, just impressive, right? So, like, clearly, just again your point where you said that there already are loads and loads of institutes, loads and loads of infrastructure that's already there in place. The need of the hour really is to revamp, revise all of that, manage it very well, because there's so much mismanagement. There is so much, the upkeep of them is not right. Start to utilize
yeah,
what we already have, because then you're not only saving additional money from getting perhaps wasted in building more, which, it's just more incentive for people who've already been a part of it, to at least know that yes, this is taken into account, rather than now you build something, looks very nice, and then you are building another one right next to it saying not this center but this center. Like, what happens to what is already there? Why aren't you allowing then maybe your rural, why aren't you allowing your ground staff, why aren't you allowing people to use that? Why aren't you allowing your retired sports players to use those facilities, probably to start their own coaching institution?
exactly,
That just
exactly.
gives
And for
them,
that matter,
yep,
Pune
sorry,
is doing
we are
great.
pretty much done.
No, yeah, yeah, Pune is doing great in that, in terms of giving facilities to retired sports persons to start their academies. So yeah, I mean, there are some good positives happening as well on their own accord. But just to summarize quickly, I would say that there has to be, in election manifestos, I think clarity of vision from the sports segment should come from someone who comes from the sports background to design this half a page also. All right. And to be very
That's
clear,
correct.
there has to be emphasis on infrastructure.
Yeah.